Ojalá que las hojas no te toquen el cuerpo cuando caigan.
It's almost a year since my mom died on February 13th of 2023. And as I've spent the last few weeks going back through decades of photographs of her and my dad and my sister and all the friends and all the family that gathered around my mom, it dawned on me that it wasn't just that I had lost my mom, it was that my sister had also lost her mom, that my daughter had lost her grandmother, that my wife had lost her mother-in-law, that countless friends and everyone that had gathered around her for decades had lost somebody so special in their lives. So I knew I wanted to make a movie showing the thousands of pictures that I found of my mom over 7 decades of her life. A life really well documented in photography. And I thought I wanted to make a movie about my mom and about her life. But I realized that my mom was about so much more than just herself. That my mom was about us. And I think that us means something different to everybody. To me, my us is my mom, Laura, Leonor, my sister and my dad. For a while, my grandparents, and a lot of our friends. The beautiful thing is, I think if you've watched this far, then you were probably part of her us. She probably considered you part of that us when she talked about the people in her life. And as I go back and I look at 7 decades of pictures, and some of which are in this movie, that becomes really clear as the immense place in her heart that she had for all of her friends, her family, her parents, me, my sister, Leonor, Laura, Dave, and all of her cousins. Especially Gise and Carmita, that were more than cousins to her. And I think too that as you look back, especially in the last 20 years, one of the most beautiful things about my mom were her friendships. And those friends that, to us, her children, blurred the lines between friends and family. And they always say that you can't choose your family, you could choose your friends. And my mom chose people that stuck with her for her entire life. Quite literally to the end, the last breath almost. I think as I go back and I look at her 30-something, almost 40 years ago, and I look at the time before she married my dad, what you see is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful person inside and out. And those of you people that knew her then know that beauty and remember it. And I think if you look at the person in the pictures of the parties, the glitz and the glamour, and then you look at the person, same person, who completely transformed and really dove headfirst into being a mom. I remember very early memories, just my mom and I, and how, you know, she was my entire world for a long time. Um, and I know that for the first 5 years, I was her entire world, of my life at least. And then when Carolina was born, and I was a little older, I remember how funny it was, the kind of shift in attention. But I think, at least I think, I used to ask her, what's it like when you have a second child? How can you love one person so completely? How do you have space for another? And she looked at me, she said, I don't know. She said, it's not like you have a finite amount of love and you have to split it. You just love them both the same way. And for my mom, I think that said a lot about the way that she thought about my sister and I, who have been very different people. And we're special to her in very different ways. Because throughout it all, she lived a pretty interesting life. She got to travel a lot, to see a lot of the world. She got to live in some pretty cool places. But I think that's not the part of my mom that I want Leonor to remember. I think what I want Leo and my future kids, and even Dave and Carolina's kids, to know about my mom is more about how life knocked her down a lot. You know, 9 years old, she had to leave Cuba with basically clothes on her back by herself, as a child. And the fact that she kept getting up, and she kept getting up and transforming herself and evolving herself, I think as a woman speaks a lot to how strong she was. And it's an example for all of us, really, and has been and will, for the rest of my life at least, continue to be an example for how I want to be a parent, or a model for how I want to be a parent. And I think that that's the last thing about her, right, that she took at the end of her life, unfortunately. She used to joke, when Laura and I first got together 15 plus years ago, that, she wasn't going to be a typical grandma. She didn't want to be called grandma. She had this image of little old lady with white hair. And we laugh to this day how she took to it, kind of in the same way that she had morphed, changed when she had me. She transformed into, didn't have the white hair, the wrinkles, or any of that stuff, but how she became the best grandmother that she could be. And, it's been a year, and Leonor still talks about her grandmother, I think, daily. The imprint that she left on this 4-year-old, and the things that she showed her, and fun that they had together. I hope that Leonor will keep that alive, and I hope to help her keep that alive for the rest of her life, because I think that's the most beautiful memory of all those that I have of my mom, is how amazing she was to Leonor. And I hope that in some way that the imprint that my mom has left on all of you has made you better, and will continue to help make you better. And that's all we can really hope for. That, and just to remember her for a very, very, very long time.
que me ha dado tanto, me ha dado la marcha de mis pies cansados, con ellos anduve